Hi everyone, this is Dan, and this is the Amazing Spider-Man Epic Collection, Great Power. So I already went over this one when we went over Amazing Fantasy number 15, so I'm not going to repeat that. But today we are going over Spider-Man, or Amazing Spider-Man, I should say. Yeah, I forgot that. Number 1, the very first issue of Amazing Spider-Man. So you got a really cool cover here, very dynamic, classic Marvel method way right here. Look at all the dynamic angle right here in pose. The Fantastic Four think on track, but they don't suspect my real power. So 2 great feature-length Spider-Man thrillers. So this issue right here, the Chameleon Strikes. So interestingly enough, this is the backup story. It's not the first story, which is this one right here, which essentially, this is really cool. What Stan Lee does in this issue right here is he basically uses a 3-part structure for the first story right here, which is accomplished in, like, what is this? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. Yeah, 13 pages for a pretty action-packed adventure and a 3-part story for that matter. So just Stan Lee being Stan Lee, just a master right here. So here's the aftermath of the first issue, both recapping Peter Parker, him getting his powers and his frustration with having failed to really make a difference and really save Uncle Ben's life. And also recapping everything going right here, catching the reader up. Just classic Marvel right here. For those of our fine readers who didn't read Amazing Fantasy number 15. And we, in the first page, we get set up with a major conflict right here, which is, with Uncle Ben gone, there's no breadwinner here in the family, in their house. So somebody has to make money, and since Peter Parker's the last man, he's got to figure out a way to make some dough. So he kind of weighs his options, and you get this. This page, by the way, is fantastic. He actually, for a time, considers becoming a criminal, using his Spidey powers for evil. But he comes to the conclusion that, what am I thinking of? I'm not a crook. Also, if I caught and get thrown in jail, it would break Aunt May's heart, right? And shows you who Peter Parker really is at the heart, right? And, so he ends up having to go back doing circus tricks, right? And you even get these 2 panels, sort of his other conflict of having a secret identity as Peter Parker and having all these high school kids make fun of him for being a dork. But at the same time, he's actually Spider-Man and going around doing acrobatics and being the talk of the town. Then you get some more. This is really fun right here. Stan Lee kind of showing the practical negatives of being a superhero. So Spider-Man puts on basically a clown show to make money, but the guy running it is like, "Hey, I can't pay you cash. I got to write a check for tax records." And then it's like, "Well, just make the check out to Spider-Man." And the dude's like, "You're not gonna be able to cash that." And Spider-Man or Peter Parker, really being a teenager and not really that knowledgeable about life, right? He's still in high school. He's kind of like, "Well, we'll see about that." He goes to the bank and they're like, "I'm not gonna cash this. You have a social security card for Spider-Man?" Meanwhile, he goes back to the same guy to work another show, but it gets canceled because this is the introduction of Jonah Jameson, who basically starts writing news article that, hey, we can't allow this freaking, weirdo vigilante dressed up in freaking skin-tight red and blue, spandex to go around terrorizing our town, right? It's like, this guy's a menace. We can't let our kids be influenced by this one right here. And then at the same time, you also get the introduction of JJ's son, who is an astronaut. And Peter right here is getting really, really frustrated with the situation because now Aunt May is selling her jewelry or hawking her jewelry to make the rent. And he's freaking out here like, "What the hell, man? I can't win." And the second part here, and this is kind of a jump, but Stan Lee has him go over to the launch of JJ's son just to see what's going on. And it doesn't turn out well as the guidance system breaks on the capsule. And it's up to Spider-Man to save the day, which he does. And this is also kind of the introduction of Spider-Man kind of being a smack talker. So right here, instead of flapping your lips, mister, just watch and see what I can do. What? So he flies off, unwisely attacks this soldier, commandeers a jet craft, ends up intercepting the capsule mid-air to save the astronaut, and runs away before anyone can bug him, so he can kind of relax and naively thinks that now everyone's going to worship him as a hero, till he finds out Jameson or JJ basically writes an article telling him, like, hey, he assaulted this officer and freaking stole military hardware and put our space program back several weeks. And he ends up basically being a villain to everyone who reads the newspaper. You get this great, like, I love the emotion shown here by Ditko as Peter Parker's like, what the hell? Oh, man. One of the things that makes Peter Parker and Spider-Man so endearing is the human aspect of Peter Parker, right? He's, constantly, on the bad end of luck, right? He's getting stiffed all the time in these early comic book stories, and it's kind of what makes him very likable and very enjoyable and very relatable, right? And it's also the sort of the different faces he has to do, right? He's kind of got to continue to be sort of the nerd and sort of quiet as Peter Parker. But when he's Spider-Man, he's a freaking shit talker extraordinaire. And that first story basically establishes him as a shit talker. And this story really establishes him as a shit talker. So Peter Parker kind of, when he was looking at the news, is like, hey, what did I think about it? I should join the Fantastic Four. So he goes up to there, and all the while he's thinking about, joining the Fantastic Four and how much money he's going to be making, very arrogantly, Peter is like talking all this smack about, like, yeah, man, like they're going to pay me so much money. When they see all my abilities, they're going to make me like the leader and everything. Basically building up ahead right before he meets them. And so he breaks in, and of course the Fantastic Four is like, what the hell are you doing? And he ends up getting into a fight, all of them. And surprisingly does pretty well. He's able to toss the thing. He webs Mr. Fantastic, uses his spidey sense to catch Invisible Girl off guard, and his athletics to get around, Human Torch. And this is a great example for those who, both the interplay of the old Marvel comics, right? Like from the very beginning, Stan Lee had the intention of the Marvel Universe and all the characters, now they would interact with each other, but also understands, hey, I gotta like kind of build up some hype here and kind of show people, why is Spider-Man amazing right here? Well, he's so strong, he can toss the thing, he can, trap the Mr. Fantastic, he can sense the Invisible Girl or Invisible Woman, and he can acrobatically jump away from the Human Torch right here. And all the while, eventually they stop, and he's like, "Hey, I'm here, to give you my resume, my CV. How much does the job pay?" And then the Fantastic Four kind of tells him, like, "Well, you fucked up because we're a nonprofit. There's no money in what we do." And so Spider-Man's like, "Son of a gun, you guys suck," and just runs off. Meanwhile, another part of town, this is the introduction of the Chameleon. So he's stealing plans for the Russians right here. So these are the early Marvel comics in the 60s, where commonly the enemy, since this was the world outside your window, Marvel comics sort of existed in the current day world. So the enemies in these early comics were typically communists, like Iron Man. I think his original origins was in Vietnam. In this case, the Chameleon stealing plans for the Russians. And he's stealing plans for Eve. I'm not just kidding, but yeah, he goes off and eventually, while listening to the news, kind of comes up with a plan to steal some more plans and make Spider-Man be the fall guy. Convenient plot device here by Stan Lee, by the way. This is a little bit of a Deus Ex Machina, where he kind of creates a machine that only Spider-Man can hear, right? So he freaks out and goes over to go investigate. Meanwhile, the Chameleon ends up stealing the plans while dressed up as Spider-Man. When Spider-Man finally shows up, the police are there, and they suspect him to be the ones that stole it, because the Chameleon dressed up as Spider-Man steals it. And then at that point, Spider-Man's his senses tingle, and he's like, you know what? I bet it was that helicopter I just passed by the way on here. So really cool panels, by the way, by Steve Ditko. Spider-Man basically makes a bungee cord, and then a Spidey parachute as he flies here. And this is like a reoccurring thing with Spider-Man is his tenacity, just generally never giving up and just going all out. So he webs the Russian submarine and then chases after the helicopter and rips out the door while chasing after the guy. Ends up chasing him through a building too with the police, and then runs out of Spidey fluid, but is able to get one last hit on the Chameleon and rip his shirt, which allows the police to capture him, but not before Spider-Man has to kind of run away because the police suspect him still of being, not a good person. And you get a great scene here where Peter Parker's basically crying as he's running away, like, what the hell? Nothing goes my way. I freaking can't get a job at the Fantastic Four. Someone tries to, flip or put the bill on me for stealing some plans for the Russians. Like, how the hell am I supposed to live? And you get some great side build up right here with the Fantastic Four wondering about Spider-Man and what his role in the world is going to be. And all in all, just classic Marvel Comics. So much story told in such a short amount of paper right here. Gotta love it, man. Freaking classic. Yeah, I mean, it is reading these issues right here of Spider-Man. I mean, this is clearly, Stan Lee at, Stan Lee as Stan Lee, man. This is his good stuff. And honestly, it's not surprising why Spider-Man became what he was, because this is just great stuff, even for how old this is. Like, now, what is this? This was 1960 something. I forget when this came out. But yeah, it's like well over 40, 50 years old. 50 years old, these comics right here. So it's a treat to go through these. And if you've never read the original Spider-Man run, absolutely recommended for you. Anyhow, no art for this video today, just kind of enjoying myself. The next couple of reviews probably won't have art, not because I'm not drawing or I don't want to do it, mainly because I don't have the time right now for the next couple of reviews. I got to do a couple quick reviews, just because the next couple of weeks I'll be pretty busy with some personal stuff. But anyhow, that's the video. Let me know what you guys think. If you like this video, please hit the thumbs up. Subscribe if you haven't subscribed. Hit the bell for notifications. You got any comments on Amazing Spider-Man #1, the very first one? Leave it down below, and I will see you next time.